On the revised FIA General Organization chart released for the month of January 2022, FIA race director Michael Masi is no longer featured under the single-seater title, prompting suspicion that he may be fired. Masi and his colleague, Nicolas Hulkenberg, were both listed in the Secretary for General Motorsport category in October of last year's paperwork. Under President Jean Todt, the Australian was designated as head of the single-seater sporting matters, while Hulkenberg was named as head of single-seater technical matters. Both Masi and Hulkenberg were removed from the document released this month by new president Mohammed bin Sulayem. Mercedes dropped their appeal against the FIA following disputed incidents at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, according to the BBC, after agreeing on a quid pro quo with the FIA to fire Masi and Hulkenberg. Mercedes has refuted the reports, claiming that the team had additional guarantees from senior FIA members that the governing body will take appropriate action. Masi was in hot water after the Australian appeared to misapply the rules during the race, allowing only 5 cars between leader Lewis Hamilton and second-placed Max Verstappen to unlap. Hamilton, who was battling for a record-breaking 8th championship at the time, was on his way to becoming the greatest Formula One driver in history if he could hold off his major title opponent Verstappen. The tables were turned when Masi permitted the race to begin without all of the drivers having time to unlap themselves. It meant Verstappen was able to sweep past the 7-time world champion after putting on much fresher tires. Toto Wolff, the president of Mercedes, said that the sport had left him and Hamilton disillusioned, with Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, vanishing from the public spotlight, except for a trip to Windsor Castle to be knighted. Speaking after the race, Wolff added, "Lewis and I are disillusioned at the moment. We are not disillusioned with the sport. We love the sport with every bone in our body, and we love it because the stopwatch never lies. But if we break that fundamental principle of sporting fairness and authenticity of the sport, then suddenly the stopwatch doesn't become relevant anymore because we are exposed to random decision-making that it is clear you may fall out of love with. Then, you start to question all the work you've been putting in, all the sweat, tears, and blood can actually be demonstrated in terms of being the best possible performance on track because it can be taken away randomly. It's going to take a long time for us to digest what has happened. I don't think we will ever get over it. That's not possible, and certainly not as a driver." The FIA has promised to investigate what happened during the closing few laps of the race since that day in Abu Dhabi, with all conclusions still to be released. Hamilton is reported to have lost faith in the governing body and would wait for the outcome of the investigation before committing to a return to the championship, according to the BBC. The first of 2 preseason tests will take place on February 23rd, with the second taking place in March in Bahrain. However, the FIA's ongoing investigation certain to play a significant part. Hamilton's return is far from certain. Should the 7-time world champion decide to retire before the start of the season, the Brackley-based Constructors' Champions will be left scrambling to find a suitable replacement. This year, George Russell joins the team from Williams to replace Valtteri Bottas, but the Finn is moving on to Alfa Romeo, so bringing him back to stand in for Hamilton for a year is doubtful. Like Russell, Esteban Ocon was a Mercedes junior driver, but he is happy at Alpine and is under contract until 2024, so bringing him in would require a substantial compensation payment. If Hamilton does really quit in the coming months and a short-term replacement is identified, it appears to be a move that will be reconsidered in a year. There are reserve drivers available, such as Nico Hulkenberg, but Mercedes' most obvious possibilities are 2 of its own drivers, Nick De Vries and Stoffel Van Dorn, their Formula E duo. Last month in Abu Dhabi, reserve driver De Vries, the reigning Formula E world champion, completed 77 laps for the team in post-season testing, setting the quickest time of all drivers on day 1. If Hamilton resigns, the 2019 Formula 2 winner is a strong contender, especially as he is already employed by Mercedes. Van Dorn is another good choice, with the advantage of having previously spent 2 seasons in Formula One with McLaren, even if he struggled as Fernando Alonso's teammate. One potential issue is that the 2021-22 Formula E season begins on January 28th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. That means that if Hamilton retires after that date, Mercedes will have to withdraw De Vries and Van Dorn from their Formula E lineup and replace them after the season has already started, even if that is likely to be more convenient and more cost-effective option than attempting to bring Ocon from Alpine. Mercedes will be hoping to avoid the logistical headaches altogether by hoping Hamilton does not retire. Russell has expressed excitement in driving alongside his countryman in a championship-challenging Mercedes, and the thought of an all-British pairing is fascinating. F1 fans are hoping that it will not only be a possibility, but also a reality. However, if Hamilton does not indeed retire, Mercedes may already have their successor, at least for the time being, right under their noses. So that's it from me, guys. If you enjoyed the content, maybe consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.